Alright, so first off, the entire point of these practices is to target things that you had trouble with. You showed that you didn't understand at least a part of this concept. That's why I'm giving you a video on it with practice so that you can get better exactly what you're weak on. So standard 8.1a is talking about order of operations. So this is PEMDAS. If it helps you, write that down on the side of your paper. Write down the letters of PEMDAS to use as a checklist so that we don't miss any steps. Right, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that I hit each of these. I'm going to look for parentheses first. I see that I have a set there. I'm going to do everything inside of the parentheses first. So 3/2 minus 1/2 times 2 I see that I have a set of parentheses there, so I'm going to work inside of there first. I also see that I have a bunch of fractions. There's two different ways we can handle this. We can work with fractions if we really want to. Personally, I like working with fractions because I'm okay with them. If you don't feel like you're strong with them, change everything into a decimal. You need to make sure the symbols stay the same in between, but you can change everything in here into a decimal. Let's do that since I think that is actually a little bit easier. We're going to do 3 divided by 2. That's 1.5. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. We have 2 minus that same 3 divided by 2, which is 1.5. Changing it to decimals definitely makes it easier. If you feel comfortable working with fractions, you can. One drawback to working with decimals is that most of the time, if they give you fractions in the problem, they'll give you fractions in the answers. So you'll just have to work backwards from the answers. Okay? So, like I said, we're working in the parentheses first. We're going to do that subtraction. We have 1.5 minus 0.5 times 2 minus 1.5 is just another 0.5. And we're going to keep the exponent there. Our next step, we've taken care of anything that we can simplify in the parentheses. We can't really do anything else in there. So we're going to look for exponents. We have an exponent here. We're going to square that. 1.5 minus 0.5 times what's now 0.25. This was multiplication to start out with. It should stay as multiplication. Doesn't really matter what we do to this. That should stay as multiplication. And that's going to be our next step. We see that we have m here, so we're going to multiply there first. It's 1.5 minus 0.125. And we can see that's our last step. We're just going to do that subtraction, so that's 1.375. Like I said, part of the drawback of this is that most of the time the answers are going to be fractions, so you'd see this answer as 1 3/8. You just have to know that you can work backwards from that answer to your decimal. On this next one, I'm going to take the exact same first step. I'm going to change all of these to decimals. I'd rather work with decimals. It's probably just easier. So we have a negative 0.5 plus negative 2 minus 2 squared. We also have that fraction on the bottom. 2 minus 1.5 squared. When we have a big fraction like this, we're going to solve the top and the bottom completely separately. We're going to get separate numbers for each of those, and then we'll do the fraction part of that, where we divide the two numbers. Okay? This fraction bar really just means we're dividing. That's our very last step. We solve the top, solve the bottom, then divide those two numbers. Okay? When we're doing the top, we have to follow order of operations, and when we're doing the bottom, we have to follow order of operations. So we're still going to use PEMDAS. We're going to look for our parentheses first. I'm just going to start with the top. We're going to do the negative 2 minus 2 on the inside of the parentheses. That's 0.5. Now plus, this is negative 4 squared. That's just simplifying inside the parentheses. We're done with parentheses on top. Now we'll move down to exponents. We'll square negative 4. It's going to give us a positive 16. It's really negative 4 times negative 4. So that's a positive 16. And we add those two together. That'll give us 15.5. That's the number on top. We have 15.5 on top divided by the number that we get on the bottom. Actually, we just did this as the exact same operation that we did over here. So we could just take that number and put it in there. I'll just show you how we got that again. We subtract here. It's 2 minus 1.5 or 0.5. And then we square that. That's 0.25. And now it's just a division problem. 15.5 divided by 0.25. You'll see that the number goes up, and that should happen. We're dividing by a decimal. Should become a bigger number. It's really the same thing as times 4.